Hey guys, Tim Johnson here with Athlete to Agent. I am creating a quick video to go ahead and explain to you guys how the principles that we've learned as athletes translate into business. And I wanted to create this video because I've talked to a lot of former athletes, former teammates of mine, and they just feel like they're starting from ground zero when they begin building a business, especially within real estate, because it's just this new arena that they're in with all these new concepts and all this new information that they feel like they have to learn. And they just honestly feel like they're starting from ground zero. And a lot of them transferring out of the world of athletics, collegiate sports, particularly, they just feel like, man, they look back at that past time that they've spent, whether they had a degree that's just no longer even going to be useful to them. And they were like, man, I've spent the last 4, 5, 6 years, decade, focusing on something that just doesn't translate into the real world. And I want to take a second and kind of just break this down because, this is a question that I asked myself when I was first transferring between being an athlete and this whole lifestyle that I had been a part of for the majority of my life, and as I transferred into the world of business, this new arena that I was stepping into. And I asked myself, I said, Tim, man, did you waste the last decade of your life just chasing some random dream without building any applicable skills that are actually going to apply to the real world? Because I was a track and field guy in college. I was a decathlete specifically, so I was involved in 10 different events, kind of at all times. And I focused the majority of my time from ages 16 through probably 23. The majority of my time, every single day, year in and year out, was spent learning how to run a little bit faster, jump a little bit farther, and throw an object a little bit further than I had in the past. And let me tell you, those skills in particular don't necessarily translate very well into life after athletics. But what I didn't know is that every single day I spent as an athlete, I was building a foundation of principles that were going to stay with me for the rest of my life, no matter what arena I decided to choose and step into. I mean, I use these principles within my business, within my family, within my friendships. These principles are powerful, and I had built them with the background in athletics. And many people build these things in other backgrounds, but I think particularly within athletics, you have this unique experience that you can build on, and you can ultimately use to really build a successful real estate business. And so there are 3 characteristics that I've kind of boiled down that translate really well into business, from athletics into business. One of those characteristics, we'll start with number 1, would be delayed gratification. And we live in a world right now where you can click a button and have something, shipped to your house within the same day. And delayed gratification has been a skill that has been diminishing over time as we see, the role of technology be implemented within our daily lives. But it's a skill that is very much alive within the arena of athletics. I mean, as an athlete, we all learn from a very young age that delayed gratification is going to be a part of our progression. We put the time in every single day, and we don't expect to necessarily see results that same day. We expect to see results slowly over time, throughout the next month, throughout the next future months, throughout the next season. I mean, there is, I think a universal truth within athletics that delayed gratification is probably one of the most essential principles that you learn, even from a young age, and even more so, as you continue as an athlete. I mean, I know, pro sprinters who spend day in and day out perfecting their craft, all for bettering their sprint time, like in the 100 meters, by 100th of a second, a tenth of a second. That is the essence, and that is like the extreme of delayed gratification. I mean, we're talking very, very small gratification, and it's probably delayed over the course of like an entire season or multiple seasons. And so This skill translates really well over into when you build a business, when you're working with clients, when you are working with other agents and you're negotiating on behalf of your clients. Delayed gratification is a skill that most people just don't hold. And so when you are an athlete and you're coming from this athletic background, you are already built on a foundation of success in what this looks like. Characteristic number 2 would be tangible goal setting. Most people honestly set goals maybe probably like once a year. And that's probably a New Year's resolution that they usually quit on within the first 4 months of the year. And they just don't have the experience of setting and achieving goals that athletes do. And so if you're a former or current athlete, I mean, name how often you set goals. I mean, I'm sure it's on a seasonal basis, but also you're setting goals on a weekly basis. I mean, I know people who are setting goals. Hey, what am I trying to achieve by next week's, football game? What am I trying to achieve by next week's track meet? What am I trying to achieve, this week in the gym, like in the weight room versus on the track versus on the field? So like there are several opportunities for athletes to set and achieve goals, which means you have tons of practice doing this skill. And ultimately, this skill just takes practice. And so this skill translates really well into building a successful real estate business, because we can actively set goals for the long term, probably like on a 90-day basis. But then you can also break this skill down into achievable timelines to where you know what you need to work on to get closer to that end goal. And most people, when they first just get their license and they're rolling out and they're like, yeah, I'm going to create this awesome real estate agent business, they just don't have the practice that it takes to set an achievable goal and make progress towards that. And in business, one of the keys to success is just gaining momentum. I mean, being able to achieve a small goal and get a win every single day. And when you do that every single day, you create this unstoppable momentum that leads to, just more confidence in your abilities, more confidence in your own knowledge, more confidence in your business and how you interact with, your clients and with other agents. And so this skill is honestly a key to succeeding within real estate, and athletes just have a ton of practice already doing that on a daily basis. The third characteristic that just transfers really well is cerebral processing, which is simply the ability to take a lesson, a movement, a skill, and translate it across different applications. So that's exactly what I'm explaining to you right now, actually, is my ability to take what I learned as an athlete and then go ahead and apply these principles over into the business world and over into other areas of my life, like my family, my friendships, things like that. And so, for example, many athletes have kind of like a built-in warm-up, cool down, performance routines before they, step up and they're about to compete. They've got this routine that they go through. All of those routines are honestly just creating muscle memory so that when you actually do the sport, whether it's sprinting down the track, jumping, whether it's on the football field or on the basketball court, these simple little routines that you do in your warm-ups and those are all just creating muscle memory. And so you're using these little tiny drills that you do on probably like a daily basis, and you're applying them to the actual athletic movement that you're going to be doing in competition. And somebody's ability to do this skill within business, you practicing something on a daily basis that then you're going to translate into when you actually go on a listing appointment with somebody, when you're talking with buyers about this house, when you're walking through a house and, a buyer asks you a question that you aren't 100% sure on. What do you do? And so your ability to create these kind of normal things that you're going to do throughout your day that help strengthen your muscle memory when it comes to actually providing a service to somebody is incredibly powerful. And most people have no idea what that looks like. They just think, all right, I'm just going to show up and learn by doing something 100 times. And it's like, well, you might not get 100 chances to talk to a seller. So what can you be doing now to set yourself up for success during that conversation? So I wanted to create this video essentially just to make sure that, if you're a current or former athlete, you are not you're not starting from zero. You have a foundation already laid for what it takes to be successful, and you've learned that in athletics. Now, let me tell you, the equation for success isn't different if you're in a different arena. The equation for success, take that equation, move it over into a new arena, and do that same exact thing. And that, there is some creativity and some flexibility in, okay, what translates well, and that's kind of what I'm talking about today. But the overall equation for what made you a successful athlete is overall going to be the same equation that makes you a successful real estate agent and what helps you create a successful business. And so the more you can do and the more you can reflect on what made you successful in the past and apply those same things and those same principles into what's going to make you successful in the future, the stronger and the faster success you'll find. So anyway, go ahead and if you liked the information that I shared in this video and you felt like this was helpful to you, go ahead and check out our website, athletetoagent.com. And it's going to show you a little bit on how to start a successful real estate business by leveraging the strengths that you've already built as an athlete. We specifically talk to athletes who are looking to build successful real estate agent businesses, and we show them step by step how to do that. And we make all of the references back to your athletic background. And so it's really powerful, really cool for you to be able to gain the traction quickly that you need to make your first commission and to grow your business into an authentic, scalable business that hopefully you can scale actually out of in the future as well. You can also go ahead and tune into our podcast. We're going to be interviewing other former and current athletes who have built businesses, and we want to hear their stories and let them share their stories and how they are transferring the skills and the principles that they've learned as athletes into their current businesses. And so it's a really awesome way to hear how other people are already doing this and then use those same experiences and apply them to your life. And then last but not least, go ahead and subscribe to this YouTube channel if you feel like this video is helpful to you in bridging the gap between athletics and business and what that life after athletics looks like. Guys, athletes make the best entrepreneurs. I mean, when I first graduated college, I went and got a job at a Starbucks. And I realized really, really quickly, and it doesn't just apply to a job at a Starbucks, but it applies to any job where you're working for somebody else. I realized really, really quickly that my athletic mindset was not going to allow me to work for somebody else. I've been trained to put in effort and get rewarded for the effort that I put in. And anytime you work a job for somebody else, you do not get rewarded necessarily directly for the work that you get put in. Your employer always has to buy you at wholesale and sell you at retail. That means they've got to pay you for the work that you do at a wholesale level, and then they get to go ahead and market your skills and your abilities, and they sell the product for a retail value, which means you're losing out on everything that you're always giving when you're an employee. And so, we just want to empower athletes to go ahead and choose that route towards entrepreneurship. We want to show you how that transfers over really, really well, and we want to show you that you're ultimately not building from ground zero. You've got a firm foundation of what success looks like, and we want to help you reach that. So go ahead and subscribe. Hope to catch you next time. Thanks.